So this letter, the Alter Rebbe wrote, I believe, in 1803. The next letter, again, it's number 28, Sacred Letters 28 on page 294 in Tanya, in the regular Tanyas. It's a letter of comfort and consolation to the Alter Rebbe's mechutin by marriage. The Alter Rebbe's granddaughter, child, married Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Barditchever's grandchild in the city called Zlobin, and it was known as the famous wedding of Zlobin. They say thousands of people were there because these two great tzaddikim were meshadech with each other. Of course, the Alter Rebbe knew the Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Barditchever, who was 5 years older than him. He was born in 1740, I believe, and the Alter Rebbe in 1745. And they knew each other from the Maggid's table, from the Maggid's court. Years later, their grandchildren married each other, so he called it mechutin, as you'll see in a moment in the introduction to chapter 28. Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Barditchever's son passed away in 1803, I believe, and this letter was written then to comfort him. And the letter talks about the what's accomplished when a tzaddik passes away. So before, in letter 27, the Alter Rebbe brings the HaKodesh, that a tzaddik is more here and more impactful. Here he talks about the etzem things, the thing itself of the petit of a tzaddik. So let's learn inside. Chof Ches, the introduction in the smaller letters. This is what the Alter Rebbe wrote to his mechutin harav hagoyin hamufursim, the great goyin, the one who's known, Ish Elikim Kodesh Hashem, a godly man, holy, Neder Yoyer, his light to shine, over Sholem, Tzaddik, the mouth of the Tzaddik, Moreno Arav Levi Yitzchok, the rabbi, the Levi Yitzchok, Nishmos Aiden, Av Bezdin, the head of the court, the Kilas Kodesh of the holy community, Bartichov, Lenachmoi, to comfort him, Al Petiras Benoi, about the passing of his son, Harav HaChosid, Moreno Harav, Meir Nishmosi Aiden. Says the Alter Rebbe, Loma Nishmecha Pashas Miriam, Lepashas Porah. Look at the Torah. Why is the portion of Miriam's passing placed near the portion of Porah Aduma? And Chazal answer, Loi Malach, the reason is, Ma Porah Mechaperes, just like the red heifer atoned for someone who becomes defiled, which is the worst kind of tumah, spiritual contamination. So too, the passing of a tzaddikis, in this case a tzaddikis Miriam, Moshe's sister, Miriam and Avia, atones for the sins of the Jewish people. Tzarech lahavin, we must understand, Lomo nishbecha davke lepora aduma hanase chutz l'sholosh machnois. Okay, Alter Rebbe says, if you want to teach us that lesson, why place it next to Porah Aduma, which was done not within the regular camps, but outside, as it says. The Torah calls the Porah Aduma also a forgiving sacrifice, but that's already kind of an addition. Skip the brackets. Why wouldn't the Torah have placed lepashas chatas hanasa b'fnim? Why didn't the Torah place the passing of Miriam next to the regular korban chatas, which was done inside the Azara, inside the camp, al gabi hamizbeach, on the altar, kapora mamish, which was actual forgiveness? So here's the question, Isser. You're telling me the reason why it's to teach us kapara, mamish, is the mizbeach, the korban chatos, not the Porah Aduma. The Porah Aduma is outside of the sholosh machnos. Chazal say the chatos kari rachmana. We also attribute chatos to it, but it's not the actual korban chatos. That's his question. Noidim HaKodesh. It's known from the Zohar Arizal. Soida Karbonis, that teaches the esoteric secret of Karbonis. Shalgabi Beach, Prinas Halos Man. It's the concept of bringing forth the feminine waters, Menefesh Abamis, from the animal drive, Shepanoiga of the translucent klipa. Basically, the concept of a carbon is to bring the animal of within oneself, i.e., the klipas noiga, to closer to Hashem through refinement. El Shorshenu Bekoidon, to bring it to the source. Hein Pchinas Dalet Chayishim, cover the four animals on the chariot, on the Soyis Akise that carry the chair, and they are Pnei Shoyer, Pnei Nesher, the face of the ox, the face of the eagle, etc. Vaidei, next page. Vaidei, page Kuf Memches, Dim Shochim, when we bring forth the carbon of the animal, bringing forth ourselves and our nefesh habamis to Hashem, which is called the process of mayim halos, mayim nukvim, to elevate the feminine waters, it reciprocates and causes the lowering down of mayim tchurim, of the male waters. Okay? I mean, in the physical union, you have the same thing. Right? There's the feminine release of her technical waters, and there's the male release of his semen, etc. So the normal way is, according to what we learn in Kabbalah, that the female releases her waters. Okay, we'll use this word that it's used in Tanya here. That's in others, because that represents we're going through our stuff and we're refining our stuff and we're elevating our stuff, and that elicits from on high, i.e., the male waters that come as a result of the feminine waters. That's what it says in Kabbalah. That's the norm. So let's see how he puts it all together. And where do these male waters come from? Mipchinas Adam Shalakise. Moshe, there's the chariot. There is the chair, the throne. Who sits on the chair? Adam, man, right? The chariot has four faces of animals: the face of the ox, the face of the eagle, the face of the lion, right? Those are all animals, chayos, kind of around the throne. Then there's a throne, and then there's someone sitting on the throne. We call this Adam Shalakise. Adam Shalakise is the highest, i.e., the male waters that are released because of as a reciprocation for the feminine waters going towards the male. In other words, when we act towards Hashem by refining ourselves, we cause a reciprocal revelation, which is Hashem, the man on the chair, on the throne, that's released. Hanikre b'shem malchus v'zah, and we call these concepts Malka, the queen, v'zah, and the zah zeirampin, small faces, ayi midos. Ochein. So this is the norm. Ochein, however, when it came to the burning of the red heifer, by throwing a piece of wood, eres of cedar trees, ve'ezov, and some grass, v'chulu, into this potion, and then putting some water. What an interesting concoction. Into the ashes that were burnt from the red heifer. Nikre b'shem kiddush mechatas. We call this process in the Torah the sanctification of the waters of atonement. The Mishnah. This is the way it's referred to in the Mishnah, right? So he says, "V'hi pchinas Kodesh Elyon. This is the level of the supernal holiness, Hanikri B'Shem Tola de Bedulcha, which is called the dew of Dulcha, that comes from forth. HaKodesh, as it says in the Zohar, a little Kabbalah here, which is the supernal wisdom, and the secret, the Arechampin of the level called the long faces. Not going to go into it now. So the point being, that Kiddush Mechatos, the process of Para Aduma, is way beyond the regular result of a carbon. In a carbon, it's the norm. Feminine to male, male responds. You work out your issues, you bring it forth to Hashem. Hashem says, you did a good job, here's your reward. Okay, that's the normal process. Guess what? That process can only tackle the norm. What about a situation which is abnormal? It's not enough to use the norm. Here you have to go over the top. We'll use those words. Over the top is the burning of the red heifer, because here it taps in to the source, the Kodesh Elyon. Kodesh Elyon is way beyond anything else. So when you have to forgive for the touching of a corpse, which is the extreme tumah, right? So say, for example, I need Isser atonement for a certain sin, which is not norm, which is not the norm. Over there, it's not adequate to just bring a regular sacrifice, Moshe. A regular sacrifice won't forgive for touching a corpse and bringing the highest negative defilement on yourself. Over there, you need something much greater. What do you need? Paraduma. You understand? That's the difference between the Aduma. In other words, Moshe, the question is, why does the Torah say that for touching a corpse, you need to be sprinkled with the ashes of the Paraduma? Why not just bring a regular korban chatos, like it says by other sins? And what's the answer? It's not strong enough to atone for a regular chatos, for a regular sin. A regular sin is the normal, cheating on your taxes, speaking a little lashon hara, etc., etc. Okay, chatos. But when you touch a corpse and you defile your kind of essence, or close to it, there you need to have a heavy wash machine cycle. The regular cycle ain't going to do it. Menashe, what's the heavy wash machine cycle? Paraduma. That's what he says here in a nutshell. Let's continue. And he says, through Chochma, which is the Kodesh Elyon, it refines the situation. And it transforms darkness to light. The Hainu, Olam Atikun. This causes the world of correction, which is refined and fixed through secretive intellect, and therefore, mitaheres tumas hames. The paraduma specifically purifies one from contaminating oneself with a corpse, a mess. See, although that type of tumah, as we call the grandfather of tumas, aviavos, and it's much worse than translucent klippa. There's shalosh klippas atmeis. Aviavos atuma is much worse than the regular klippas noga. So for that you need a special type of cleansing from the paraduma. So the Alter Rebbe, he's answered the question. Why is the death of Miriam placed by paraduma, not by a regular chatos? Because there's certain things that you need that forgiveness for, that a regular chatos wouldn't be adequate. So now, how does that apply to the passing of a tzaddik? Let's see what he says. Again, this Kabbalah, I'm not going to go into the Kabbalah. The Abba Yoinik B'Mazel Hashmini, okay? The father, i.e. Chochmah, nurtures from the Mazel, the eighth Mazel, Chulu. V'hu Tikkun V'Noitzar Oisis Ratzon. Take the letters Avram, Ratzon, and you reverse right the letters Reish Tzadik Vav Nun, you get the word Notzar. There's something in Kabbalah called the Tikkun of Notzar. The Tikkun, the correction for a person's willpower. The determination and will that drives a person, I must have this, and sometimes it involves shtuyot, to the point where there's very bad spiritual contamination. So that needs to be corrected. That's what he's talking about. He gamkein eis rotzen. This too is the auspicious time, Hamazgalu, which is revealed and shines in a clairvoyant way, from above below, when the supernal tzaddikim pass away, those that serve God with love, and self-sacrifice Hashem for God while they were alive, Arvis v'shachris in the evening, in the morning, b'krishma through saying Shema. Through this they elevated the lower waters, the feminine waters, to their father and mother, so the tzaddik was involved in this process throughout the lifetime, especially having Mesiras Nefesh during the reciting of Shema. Skip the brackets. And because of this level of love and self-sacrifice that the tzaddik had, it draws down the it draws down the male waters mitikun v'noitzar chesed, from the tikkun, the correction and the creation of chesed, v'heim, and they they're revealed in an apparent way. When the tzaddik passes on kenoida, because shekol omal, look at this line, shekol omal ha'adam, all of one's work and effort throughout their lifetime, that one's soul, one's engaged in throughout their lifetime, and it caused all kinds of special connections, but they were concealed, mizgale umeir, they're revealed and they shine in an open way from above, lemata below, we think, we mourn and we cry when a tzaddik passes away. Now, the Rebbe is not saying that you don't have to, but he's saying you should know that the petita of a tzaddik is the revelation of the real tzaddik, of everything he did throughout his lifetime. So in a sense, you should be very happy. My wife and I were talking the other day after the Rebbe passed away in 1994, right? So there was a group of people that were dancing. So a known Chabad Rosh Hashiva who was very against that, he said he disagrees, it's not the norm, but he brought justification. I think he brought from here. Because if you understand what the Alter Rebbe is saying here, he's saying basically that the highest revelation is at the time of the petita of the tzaddik. So yeah, you should be happy. So those that were dancing after the Rebbe passed away, he said, they must be at this level. But again, that's not the norm. That's not the way we conduct ourselves. But it is important to know that the petita of a tzaddik is what we're learning here in Tanya, is the greatest isgalus, is the greatest revelation of what the tzaddik is really all about. Through the revelation and the emanation of this tikkun of chesed, when at the time of their passing, Meir Chesed Hashem, it causes the Chesed Hashem to shine from one world to the other world, al yereyav, on those that fear God, upoil Yeshuas b'kerev haaretz. This is quoted by a lot of times. the Rebbe always quoted is that a tzaddik's impact is poel yeshuas. It impacts salvation, b'kerev ha'aretz, within the earth. And b'kerev ha'aretz, Menashe implies deep within the earth. In other words, in the worst situations. So the petira of a tzaddik it creates a Yeshua, not just for the normal situation, but for the depth of the physical material world where the problem is really heavy. The tzaddik's petira impacts it in a positive way. Lechaper, to do what? With tzaddik atones for al oven hador, for the sin of the generation. Yes, my dear Chevra, there is a sin of oven hador. There is a sin of the generation. Afgam malos doinos. Now listen to this. The tzaddik's petira forgives and also the intentional sins. Shehem megibul klippas atmeis. They come from not the translucent klippa, but the three completely defiled klippas. Shalamata menoiga that below noiga. Why? If you shemazel anoitzer, mimoichin stimo the arachampen, because this mazel moker abirurim. Turn to the next page. The source of the refinement. The sabchach the shviras akelim. It causes the transformation of darkness caused by the shattering of the vessels, l'noheda to light, the elam atikin to the world of tikkun. So the Alter Rebbe explained until now the great positive impact that happens when a tzaddik passes it on. Again, this is so revolutionary to think this way, because the average Torah Yid and the average thinks it's negative, it's bad. And it is physically, like I told you the other day from the Shabbaton, and Moshe's here, my Chicago Shabbaton, the Shabbos, and I told the people during the lecture, I don't think you heard this yesterday, but one of the questions that came up by the birthday boy, the 90-year-old birthday boy, that I went to celebrate it, to honor his birthday. That's why they asked me to come and to talk and fabreng and all that. So he says, the Rebbe passed away, so it should be the 8th generation of Chabad, not the 7th. I discussed this yesterday. I just want to get to the point over here. The Alter Rebbe is saying here, he acknowledges that there's a petira. A tzaddik passes away. He passes away. He doesn't say here he's alive and walking around on 5th Avenue. Okay, go find him. Or in your terms, Moshe, he's not in the loop. He's not in the loop. Right? Where is he? He's buried in the oil. He's buried in Miran. He's buried wherever the tzaddikim are buried. But nevertheless, the spiritual issue of a tzaddik's petira is so powerful. That's why that it atones even for the intentional sins of the generation. That means if I connect myself to the tzaddik, I benefit that my intentional sins receive atonement. That's a gewaltige Kazach. Because, those sins that I did accidentally, I didn't know better, fine. But what about those sins that I knew clearly what I'm doing, and I did them anyway, especially if they involve heavy types of sins? Oi! You don't want to think about it. Like, I don't want to go there. And we're not supposed to go there. But here we have an answer. Yes, Isser.
So, he says that the tzaddik's petira is mechaper on the sins of the generation. And we know that the tzaddik is connected to all of the door. Yeah?
Yes.
But you just said that if you're connected to the tzaddik, meaning he's connected to us. But what if we don't have that active connection?
You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it.
You don't get it.
That's
It's
why.
only for those people who are connected.
Yeah, that's why the
To
27.
the tzaddik.
Yeah,
Not
Moshe,
just because-
Isser. That's why chapter
You're the
27 precedes chapter 28. In chapter 27, he said it very clearly. It's only through your kashrus to a particular tzaddik that will cause the tzaddik's emuna, ava, and yira to impact you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no free rides over here. This whole concept, free rides, is not a Jewish thing. You got to work. So, but here, the chiddush here is, Moshe, is a gewaltige chiddush, that even the intentional sins, can you imagine intentional? I knew what I'm doing, and those of magnitude, the real bad ones. If I'm connected to the tzaddik will bestow atonement on those.
And what if you connect to the tzaddik not while he was alive, but afterwards?
Yes, good question. The answer is the same thing. And how to prove that, there's a whole discussion, but that has come up, and the answer is because, again, remember, chapter 28 follows 27. In 27, he's talking about relating to the tzaddik after he's passed on. Issa, right? The whole 27 is about Yatir mi b'chayoyi. So you could, what the HaKodesh is saying is that even after he passes on, the concept of connection in his kashrus is there if you make it be there in your life. And then what would follow is what we learn here in Perek Chof Ches. Let me just finish. Mashenke, we're top of 296, Moshe Myers, Mashenke B'Karbana is conversely, when it comes to sacrifices, the regular ones, Shalgabe HaMizbech, that were brought on the altar, She'enon Mechaprin, they do not atone, Elo al Hashgogos, only for the sins that were accidental, Shehem is Gabras Nefesh Abamis, because you couldn't control your Nefesh Abamis, and you let it slip, and you made a mistake. Shebenoiga, for the Klippos Neika, Mishkos of the Kuti HaTorah, as it says in the Arizal's Kuti HaTorah, Pasha Vayikra, Velochein. And here he concludes his answer to his question that he began the chapter. Nishmechol Pashas Paradafka. That's why Miriam's death is placed in the Torah near the portion of Para Aduma, Ma Para, etc. And he quotes the Chazal, just as the red heifer forgives someone who touched a corpse, so too does the passing of Miriam forgive the most extreme sins. Over Yalkut Pasha Shmini, Gia Mechatos. He said, Mechatos. It says there, Mechatos, the word of Chulu. So, what we have from this Koyach, chapter 20, 28, it's Koyach. It's a Gavaldiki insight. And I think it was very good what you brought up, Isser, that the idea of iskashus to a tzaddik is post-lifetime as well. And you remember, we're talking about here iskashus be'emuna, ava, and yira. I mean, that's a lot of work that doesn't just come from, I'll just check in, I'll check in. It's real avoida. When you exert avoida in your iskashus to a tzaddik, the tzaddik will take care of you. The tzaddik will take care of you. And personally, I can tell you, Chevra, I see this in my life many times, over and over. And don't think it's always easy, because, the seichel tells you do this and do that and kind of go away from the tzaddik's instructions. Not in a bad way, but take a hiatus, take a break. That's really what a chassid is. Moshe, the difference between a chassid and a non-chassid, right? Both are fine and both are the Hashem. But the chassid has a rebbe. I can't say enough times this concept. A rebbe is not just a gadol. A rebbe is not just a rav or a rabbi. A Rebbe is a soul geologist who you come to identify with, not because he gives you money or he gives you honor or he makes you feel comfortable. Those that have such a Rebbe, I'm sorry to say, don't have a Rebbe. A Rebbe that you feel you have is because you relate to the neshama, whether you benefit or you don't benefit, whether you like it or you don't like it. And that's why many people don't have Rebbes. And guess what? Today we have a phenomenon, people are checking out from their Rebbes. And I don't mean only Chabad. I mean, you probably have in Eretz Yisrael, but here we have entire chevra groups. I ask them on the street, who's your Rebbe? I don't have one. I go to everybody or I go to nobody. I decide it's a machla. It's a big, big machla. I'm not suggesting that you have to have the attitude where I go to one Rebbe, I won't go to anyone else. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the concept that you feel connected. And you should know, after the Holocaust, I mean, for sure in Europe, but after the Holocaust, there was no such a thing. I heard, I just tell you one kurtz story. You heard of the Holy Ribnitzer Rebbe, right? The Ribnitzer Rebbe was in Chernovitz after the war, and Reb Mendel Futterfass was there in the 1950s, 56, 57, 58. And they had a partnership going, you know. Reb Mendel would be the Sandik, and the Ribnitzer was the Moel. Okay, there's stories written about that, you've heard, but I heard this from the son of the mother. Someone came to Fabring here. He lives in Kfar Chabad. His name is Vyshetsky, Rabbi Vyshetsky. He's an older chassid. So he lived in Crown Heights. So they brought him in a bar park to Fabring. He told the story. They also lived in Chernovitz in the late 50s. And their mother, his mother was very ill. So they said they wanted to go to the Ribnitzer Rebbe to ask for a bracha. The Frierdiker Rebbe was already passed away, and the Rebbe they were Lubavitchers, whereas in New York, and you know, and it was communism, was hard to communicate. The mother of this Vyshetsky, I think she was a Raskin. They're very kind of fanatical Hasidim, but real Hasidim, real as kashrus. She said she doesn't want him to ask the Ribnitzer Rebbe because her connection is through the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now, I'm not suggesting it, but I just want to bring out, you know, when we talk about connection, there are levels, and for this particular person, they anyway later somehow did it. They asked for bracha and Baruch Hashem. And the Ribnitzer Rebbe was half of a Lubavitcher. I mean, not in his style, but you know, he lived with a Mendel Futterfass, so he tasted firsthand what a Lubavitcher chassid did, and the Reb Mendel tasted what this great tzaddik was a mamish, a miracle maker. No, not even a question, you know. I told you the story that they went out to Berdichev, and they asked him. It was freezing. It was snow. They said, Rebbe, where is the caver? He walked around, and he started to make a circle around a certain plot of snow. And he said, here! And he fell down, and he cried, and he was mishtateach al the tzaddik of the Berditchever. Okay? That's what you're talking about. That's the type of tzaddik this man was. The Ribnitzer. Right? It was a big tzaddik. So, the Alter Rebbe's point is that the iskashrus to a tzaddik brings tremendous things, including atonement when atonement is needed for the worst sins. Now, I mean, you know, if we're bargaining, we're playing, a betting game, isn't it worth it? You know, but again, that's not the reason for iskashrus. That's not the reason for that's a side benefit. The side benefit is that you get atonement. someone who's worried about what's going to be with their soul, and we should be, after 120, to have cleansing of the soul, and all the shtus should be cleansed out and washed out and evaporated and obliterated and destroyed. But the etzem inyan for connection is right here. Chevra, I want to wish you all a freilich Purim. Break all the boundaries. One day, v'napachu, 24 hours. 24, not 48. 24 hours. I know it's a Purim Shulish in Eretz Yisrael.
3 days.
3 days. I understand. So I take back that comment in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. But really, and remember what we talk about every year, not too much drinking. I don't have to tell you guys. You guys aren't big drinkers, I think, anyway. But, everything b'chesed u'berachamim. And to have mercy, if you see a guy who's very shikr and all that, don't scold him and don't humiliate him. Just calm him, tame him, in a nice way. And talk to him a little bit, bring him to the side. And kids, of course, should not be given free alcohol. Whatever, you guys know everything. And the main thing is that we should have Mashiach Tzidkenu in our lives, and bracha for everyone to have parnosa and shidduchim toivim and good health, children, spouses, and grandchildren and families, and a special bracha for Chaver of mine, Henech ben Miriam, who was diagnosed with ALS. And he's one of our chevre, my kvutza, and he lives in Eretz Yisrael, and I hope to see him when I come for Pesach. So Hashem should bring him somehow a refuah shlema, a miracle, as his wife says. He needs a miracle. And Hashem brings miracles, okay? There are people who are laying, I don't have to tell you, Yisrael is the doctor, people who are laying dead on the table, and they walk up, and they get up, and they're around. I know a few such people.
We need a nace. We need a miracle that our brothers and sisters should come back.
You mean the chatufim, the Hashem. I believe it's going to happen. I believe all this bickering and ceasefires and all that. I think it's on the right trajectory as far as they will come back. Hashem, I believe those that are alive will come back all alive. But those that aren't will come back. We'll come back, and Eibishter makes shluchim, and it's not a political statement whether you like Trump, you don't like him, but he's able to accomplish certain things that I believe will be good for the Eretz Yisrael. As long as we do not screw up, excuse the expression. Machrivayich u'maharisayich meich yitzeu. It's in the Tanakh thousands of years ago. I think Yeshaya Novi says it. We are our worst enemies, so we have to stay away from that. But the Eibishter will have Rachmanis, and everyone will be safe. Anyway, have a great Purim. We'll see everyone with Hashem. Monday we will learn. Sei gesund. Good Shabbos and good Yom Tov. Bye-bye. Take care.